Yep, so I'm Russell, as explained. I've been Pixelate about 3 years. Hopefully you can have a bit of fun before beer. I'll try not to be too long and hold you up from the beer with some data queries, etc. I put the next bit on because Dom had it, so I thought it was only fair. Father of two girls, aged 10 and 12. I like playing hockey. I love playing guitar badly. And have an interest in musical theatre, but not highbrow like Dom. I don't know how many people know what panto is. Hands up, if you know what panto means. Pantomime? Pantomime. It's basically an excuse for grown men to behave like idiots on stage at Christmas. Yeah, exactly. And the reason I say that is because I'd much rather be up here in a dress singing than doing this, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so yeah, exactly. Have some beers later, it might happen. So we're going to start looking at some insert data from select. So inserting into one table from another one with a select statement. So I've got a couple of tables set up. I've got this insert A and insert B, which is currently empty. And if I go to here, you'll see at the bottom, I've got this insert function. Sorry? Oh, okay. How do I even do that? Control plus. Come on, plus. No. Oh, that's right, is it?
Do one more.
One more.
We'll get all.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right, cool. All right. Bit better? Cool. So, okay, so then we start off, we've got some select data args as if we were doing a select statement. So we've got our object name insert A, which has got the data in it we want. We're going to have our select fields that we want to copy across. And we've got a filter on there, should insert is true. And then we're going to go down, we're going to call this insert data from select into the object name of insert B, using those args and with a field list. The trick to this is making sure the number of fields in the select data args is exactly the same as the field list, and that you've got them in the right order. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a mess. But that's basically it. Not too much to it. Let's see if I run it. I'm not sure why it's taking so recording properly. Don't have a flashy, well, I've got a newer computer than it was previously, but it's not as flashy as Dom's, obviously. Okay, so now we've got this one record inserted, and it's the one which was marked as should insert one, and the other one was ignored. I think that's kind of all there is to that. I don't know if there's any questions. I would imagine not. Pretty simple. Obviously, that first select statement can be fairly complex if you want it to be. Just do all the usual things.
Observation, though.
Go on.
We've learned over time, we've actually stopped doing this in a particular scenario for queuing mass emails, where you put a dynamic filter, because you could have an instance of MySQL where the select part of the query can come back in like 0.1 seconds, and just adding insert into the front of it can take basically any time, like 2 minutes or more, because MariaDB. So the thing that observation I would say is test that approach.
Yeah, be cautious.
Queries and lots of data. Yeah. Cool. Internal debugging. It will tell you the query is slow, but like it's getting execution plans. Yeah.
Cool. Next one is select data views. I couldn't really think of I didn't even add a subtitle, as you can see, but you'll see what it is. So I've got in here under handlers, I've got the select data views file, and in there we define our view. I'll get out of the way. There we go. So we could give it a name, give it the fields, the object name, select fields, and your filters, etc. Basically, again, all the same arguments as you put into a normal select. And this defines a view that you can use anywhere you want, really. It's a nice way if you've got something complex you want to use to store it, and then you can use it in multiple places. So if I go back to here, wait a minute. Yep. So I've got 2 in here. So in the view, I've got a simple one, which is just going to pull out the select view with that name, does a select statement on it. And then I've got a slightly more complex one. So I've got two objects here. And where are they? So I've got object A has a relationship to that view. So you give it a relationship of select data view and give it a name, give a key on the view, and then you can do queries on it. And I've obviously done a formula field one based on that as well. So if I go back to here, you can see on this one that I'm querying A, and I'm getting the ID from the list of B, and this very complex mathematical formula. It's the reason for doing the select data view, because it's so intensive and it counts. Then I would go back. I think these are the wrong way around. Yeah, let me just refresh them.
Why is it so slow?
It's got zoom and record going, so it's yeah, so there you go. So you've got this, the simple one at the top, just pulls from that view directly, and this is the one with the join on it. And you can see it's pulled in the ID, the very, very complex formula that was in it, and the count.
We view that SQL
In a nice way. Did I not do that one? I did a few of these, maybe didn't know, because you told me to do it at lunchtime, so I can get around to it. Let me pull it out and we can do that. I haven't, I just do it by hand as fast as possible.
So basically the select data view was kind of designed because you have a lot of kind of one-to-many relationships, which are useful. It's when you want to filter that one-to-many relationship on a subset. So you've got like a property that's called active members of a subscription as opposed to just all members. So the only way to do that is to build a subquery join or a subquery join. So there's that select data view is defined there as that select stuff. And then the relationship allows it to automatically join in the query as if it was a regular relationship.
Yeah, this is a bit of a complicated one to write out, but you get the idea, I think. Yep. Cool. I think that's all on that one. Unless again, any other questions on it? Yeah.
A question. So once I've got these select data views, can I do anything else with them? Query next? Can I display those in grids?
Yeah. No, can we not?
No, because
Oh,
because the fields could be anything, so you can't figure out mappings to render it to each.
yeah, that's true.
Is there any documentation?
Sure.
This is documentation.
There is.
Watch the video.
Yeah. I might turn all these into a series of blog posts as well. So
There is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different blog posts from Sarah as well. Yeah. A lot of this is new stuff.
Cool. Right, select unions. This is quite fun. This was quite new. I think it's quite new, but then time flies, so maybe it's put on a bit now.
It's probably about 1019 or 10, no, 1020, 21.
So basically joining multiple tables in a union. So I've got 3 different tables, all fairly similar. And where have I gone? Select union at the bottom. So I'm just going to do a simple one to start with. So I've got my select args, which is basically going to name the tables and the fields we want to pull. So I've got the 3 different ones there. And then we're going to use this select union and pass those in. And hopefully get all together, which would be nice. Let's see.
It's an array of structs of args.
By 1015.
Does it automatically just do distinct on them, or do you have to put in a setting?
Yeah, you can pass in which type you want. There we go. So let's pull them in and it's put them in a sort order. So it's
distinct by default. I wouldn't say union or
yeah. I think you can probably work out from that, but probably don't need to make that any clearer what the select statements are. That's that.
Like any raw
union thing, it takes all its column names from the first set.
There's one came up recently, so we had an existing groups extension and wanted to pull in data from a table which was based on discourse. So end up using select union to do that, and then realizing we don't have paging in it. So end up with this quite funky little thing. So I thought I'd show you that. So I've got at the top, you've got pulling your page size and your page count, etc. And then you've got similar select data args. There in here, you've got this max rows. So what you've done there, I've done the page size basically. So I ignore count only for a minute, multiplied by the page. So because you don't know quite where that data is going to sit in terms of the paging, you can pull out up to the maximum that you're ever going to need for that query, and then you'll know you've got enough. Obviously, you can't say pull out page 2 because you wouldn't know where it sits. And then down the bottom there, again, do the same thing. And in that select union statement, do the max rows and put in a start row for it.
Probably by the time you get to the last set, you get the whole lot anyway.
Sorry?
By the time you get to the last page, you're getting the whole lot anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But I need
Yeah.
the subqueries.
Yeah. It's not ideal. I might see if we can work on that one, actually put it into core. Yeah. I thought it's a nice little example though. There's a count version of that. I won't probably show you that because it's a bit gnarly. So that was select union. So extra joins. So you think by people's comments, everybody's seen Seb's amazing blog post on. I have to admit, I think we all do. Whenever we do one of these, we go back to it because it's it's really not obvious. Where am I? So the extra joins. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, yeah. Right, what are we doing? Okay, so we've got a table of attendees and a table with countries. The first thing we're going to do is a simple join. So let me just show you that 1 second. So in the attendees, we're going to ignore this relationship to start with and pretend that there's no relationship and we just have the name of the country. So we're going to do a join on there because we don't know it through the relationship. And that one, sorry, yep. So in there, I've got the name of the attendees object and doing a select data. I'm going to do an extra join. So in here, we've got a subquery, quite simple one. We're going to pull out the ID and the label from the join country. And we'll give that an alias. So in the subquery column, and subquery column is this ID here, which we're going to use to join to the main query. The join to table is the name of the table from the main query. And the join to the column is that simple country from the main object. And then we give it a type. And hopefully you'll see that. So there we go. We pulled in country name from the country table against the attendees. So then the next one we are going to. Sorry,
just for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
Make a typo in there and show us what the error looks like.
Sorry, where do you want it?
Go back to the example.
Yep.
And making it.
So extra joins there, right?
Yeah. So what happens if you get the subquery column ID?
Oh, I see.
ID2 or something.
ID2 like that. All right, let's have a go. think it's going to be unhappy with us.
And in there, so Preside hasn't picked up on that error at that point because it's all just your own choosing of what those would be, because it could be an alias, right? But in that error, it's going to give you the SQL. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Be back to this error template to put that.
Yes.
Find it weird that it's after cookies.
Okay, so for this next one, we're going to use this relationship this time around. So we can relate attendee to the country directly. What we're going to do this time is we're going to do a subquery to get count. We're going to get the account of attendees from each country. So group them by country. Same things, but keep these entries the same. And then I think that's it. And I'm going to pull in that account into the main query. There we go. So it's got, did I do a, sorry, no, I didn't. Yeah, so you're basically joining onto the subquery there. The other thing that to show in, oops, wrong one. The other thing to show in there is this additional clauses. So this one allows you to add that extra statement, an extra clause into this SQL. So I save that. Oh, what have I done there? Let this work now. Oh no, I didn't put it back in, did I? That's why. Yeah, exactly. In there. I'll put a group as well. There we go. It's better.
Yeah.
Yep. And that one.
You right click on that, right?
No.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
The extra.
And yeah, so it's joining on two clauses.
Cool. Any questions on that? Happy? Go on.
Why would you do it?
Why would I do it? That's a good question. Complex subqueries. Okie dokie. Oh, look, there you go. I did pull it out for you. That was nice of me. But I did that. That was the simple one. And then that's the more complicated one. I think that's all right. Oh, complex queries. No, I've done that. Yeah. I'll go away. How do you get that thing to go once? There we go. All right. Complex queries. Okay, let's just show the. Okay, again, we've got two tables of complex A and complex B. And it was a complex C, but I was trying to show you something, but it didn't work. So we'll ignore that one. So what we're going to do is going to show you the exists clause. So here we've got a subquery. So we're going to query against complex B. Just going to select field 1 because we only want to know if it exists or not. And we're going to do the parent is complex A. So basically complex B has a parent that points back to complex A, ID. Going to add in some subquery extra filters just for fun. And all we're going to do is pull out the SQL and the parameters for these. So then when we do our query on complex A, we're going to write an exist statements and put in the subquery SQL and also add those filter parameters from the subquery as filter parameters into the main query. What you'll notice is you've got this obfuscate SQL for preside. I was trying to demonstrate basically what happens when data manager runs a query. If you don't put this obfuscated for SQL for preside on here, it will look at the query string here and it will try to pull out joins. It'll try to calculate joins, which can lead to some kind of strange joins being put in your table and mess things up. I was trying to do a demo of that, and the one time I did want to do it, I couldn't get it to do it. Usually it happens, and it's just annoying. Yeah, today I couldn't actually get it to do it. So I guess that proves how good preside is. But it won't let you mess up. So that's what this obfuscate for SQL for preside is. So what it basically does is it does a base 64 hash of that, so that when the data manager looks at that string, it can't find anything, doesn't try and do any funky joins on your data that you didn't want to do in the first place. So if I run that exists. So here you'll see I've just put out the write dump on the subquery, just so you can see what that gives you, which is just the SQL and the parameters. And you'll see that this has got base 64 encoding, which is the obfuscation we were talking about. And then this is your exist clause. By the point that it actually runs the query, the data service, then just before it runs it, then puts that obfuscated code back into normal SQL just before runtime, after the point where it was trying to find those joins. So everything works correctly again, which is nice. I think that is it on that. Any questions?
I think we use this for other sort of SQL stuff that preside doesn't necessarily know about. You can just sort of bypass bypass all the parsing.
I don't think there's any downside in putting obfuscate for SQL for preside, really, is there? So
no,
not much.
That kind of bit that you're obfuscating was actually something that should have been.
Oh yes, good point. So I think that's that on that.
So it's worth noting that as of 10.18, we rewrote all of the auto rules filters that do like if you've got an object with a one-to-many relationship, you get an expression automatically that says this like filter records that have one or more of these related records. So those before, because they weren't doing this, were doing auto joins, which then led to a lot of performance issues where you're actually selecting rows and rows and rows and having to do distinct. So then it just goes through, and it's much cleaner for all of these kind of additional filters. It's like where exists or not exists, and you can combine them together, and it's much more performant. It's a little bit hard to get your head around when you first do it, but once you've got it, it's like it makes a lot of sense for that kind of scenario or any other kind of dynamic filter building.
Cool. Next, we're going to look at data migration. So this is basically this with the data migration handlers was quite recent as well, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we used to do lots of custom things in different places.
Yeah. So yes, now you can put in your handlers. You can put in a folder DB migrations and define your migrations in there. So this is basically when you define them. It'll update your data according It could be maybe you've restructured your tables, maybe you're using a service and you want to pull in data from somewhere else and update your existing records. All sorts of reasons for it. One of the things to note is this is enabled. We're generally using this with is feature enabled to check that the feature is turned on. Otherwise, you could be running migrations against where there's the data doesn't exist, the tables don't exist, which kind of is fine in the first place. But then when the migration is run, it's marked as run. So if you then turn the extension on, it won't do the migration on that extension because it thinks it's already done it. So that's one of the reasons. I mean, you could put in your other code in that is enabled as well if you needed to. So then there's two types of migrations. So this one, I've done a synchronous migration, so it's marked as run. So when we run it, it's going to call this very slow service for 10 seconds and then update a table, basically. The other version is the async migration, which is extremely similar, but when it kind of runs after everything else is loaded, it doesn't get in the way of the reload. I'll show you that in a minute. Trying to think if there's anything else I was going to show you on these other than the results. I don't think so. So I was going to run this in Docker, but I think with everything, with a Zoom on and recording, that's probably going to be too slow. So I did some screenshots of what the results are when you reload the site. So the first one is with a synchronous migration. So if you see here, it gets to this point of running DB migrations. It's running the synchronous migrations, and it starts at 33 seconds past. And then everything basically stops. I mean, there's a little system health check, but everything else has to stop and wait until the 10 seconds are up at 43, and then everything carries on and the application can start up. The asynchronous one I showed, actually the application starts up and then it runs those migrations afterwards. So you don't have to wait around. Everything's running and those migrations happen later on in the background. I'm actually not sure what triggers that. How long is it? How long is it after reload it does it, or what triggers it? Do you know?
30 seconds.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
That is comfortable.
So scenarios where you would definitely want to do synchronous migration are when you need the data to be correct when everything starts up, where you want your tables working properly from the word go. Asynchronous is for, I mean, quite often I'd say maybe for calling external web services would be a good one. If you want to update data and it doesn't matter that it's not updated straight away.
Things I think would be async.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a large volume of it.
Yes, it's really async is really good on very large. When you update large tables.
Then it's going to go very quickly. Then there's not very problem running it sync, but
yeah. Yep. I think that's probably all on that, unless anybody's got questions. Yep.
I'm just curious on the data migration. So obviously you run it at the same time.
Oh yes. So yeah. So there's a table in here. Find that. DB migration history. Get up the way again.
So if it fails to be written, drag it, just
yeah.
take it out that.
You can drag the file.
Can you? Which bit do you hold? Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I can get out of there. Right, content. There you go. So yes, but these two I've run already, so they are marked as the date they were done, and they won't run again after that point.
Okay, and that's straight there.
Yep. So that's just the name of the function with -async or -sync after it.
Okay.
Yes, so the same handler could include a sync and an async method.
Yes, that's true.
Run both if both are bad.
Yep.
Is there an opportunity for a migration to be run in parts? Like, imagine I needed to restructure a database that has a billion rows in a table. I can't necessarily do like a select into it. I want to do like 10,000 rows at a time. Is there like a sense where it has to run multiple times for you to complete?
Oh,
I guess what you could do, because, so it's a code box handler, right, which defines the migration, so from there you can do whatever you want, so you could potentially create a whole load of other ad hoc tasks that are gonna run frequently until it's finished, so yeah, at that point you can free to do what you want, but yeah.
Or use lazy query.
Oh yeah, what with the insert?
Well, I
Select insert, you don't want to get.
you have a billion rows you want to press through, you
Yeah.
just use the cursor to move across it, you're not gonna read the billion rows of memory.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But yeah, if it's an async one, it's running in a background task anyway, so you can just keep in that function, you can keep looping over until it's done.
Yeah, but you might also, because it might die, like, if it's gonna take
Mm.
a week, if it's gonna take a week, your
Well, yeah,
instance might get
Well, yeah,
rebooted out, right? So you persist it to the database that, hey, just keep running this ad hoc task, because with our ad hoc tasks, you can kind of
Yeah.
stay, run on failure, and you could keep it failing until it completes. So you could do little things like that, and you go, okay, well, every 5 minutes, you keep trying 1,000 times, or like indefinitely, until it's done. Yeah, you do that.
But if you've got something like that that's going to take that long, you might not actually want to
Yeah,
put it in one of these anyway. You might want to just have a couple of little admin handler that will give you a progress update and just see how it's doing.
yep.
And the standard task scheduler, I mean, is it worth showing that? So if you show like a CRM data sync or something,
Yeah.
for those that haven't seen this, you run a task, will give you a, there's an output to a console that effectively allows you to see. If you show MIS and show, I don't know, hotspot data sync.
It's just
Yeah, which one's a good one? Pop, pop, pop. Right. That's maybe the one, is it?
let's take a few.
I mean, there's not much in there, but
If this task was running, you get to go back and look at it and see the state of this running, being extra 500 to 10,000 rows.
cool. And then, yeah, on that subject, next one's ad hoc tasks. Yeah, no, it's all right. There's not much to show on this, but I guess, oh no, maybe not. Maybe not. Yeah, okay. So again, I've written a slow running task, takes 10 seconds to do it. If I pull up that, you'll see that it takes a little while. Get out of the way again. Get down there. Right. Which is boring, waiting that long, isn't it? And then if I do that as ad hoc task,
Fuse box, the framework to do stuff actually.
I see. So yeah, ad hoc task, the page comes back straight away, and you basically your ad hoc task is running in the background then and doing the work, which is quite nice.
Yes. No. It will return you the it can take you off to view the log.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh yes, that's true. I could have done that, come up with the ID. Do you want to do that one? Because it can't come up with a line.
Fire it off and forget it, or you can fire it off and return the task.
Yeah, that'd be nice, wouldn't it, actually? Was it you do?
URL that lets you then view the progress of it, which you can either then navigate away from or leave going.
Anybody remember what it was? Set next event something. No, I can't let go either. Anyway, you would do that, and you pass in the ID that you've got, log ID here, and it will take you to. I think we've got one we could show.
You could show like an export or.
Oh yeah, that's good call. Yeah, that's good call. What, just a data table export would be a good one, would it?
Go to MIS and create a new application.
Yeah, all right. If I do export from here, it should do it, shouldn't it? Oops.
There's lots of
Uh,
options with
sorry.
it. So with the export, you give it like a result URL. So when it's finished, it'll direct you to the result URL, which in this case will be downloading the thing.
That's what I need to do, download now, isn't it? And it does it right.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's the same thing. It's doing an ad hoc task, but showing you the results. So if you went away from this page, it would carry on doing it. Yeah. Yeah, taking on time. So yeah, literally the format is create task, the event you want to run. So I'm pointing at this slow running function here. When you want to run it, because it doesn't have to happen straight away. I should have put some more arguments. I can't remember what they are. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Horrible search.
Yeah.
It is quite.
It's gonna be fixed by
You get,
tomorrow.
like, so many results.
Uh,
Somebody added like every page title comes back in search. So you want oh yeah.
Not that one.
No, that
Create task, right?
search again.
That's it. Yeah, there you go.
There's a guide.
Oh yes, you've got these discard on complete ones. So if you
development guys at the top there.
oh yeah, oh okay.
So
Wow.
Search the browser.
there's a probably look down the main bit. So
It's under task manager.
I know it's in task manager probably.
Yeah, maybe that one.
And then you go, yeah.
There we go.
They've been around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. They were decided one.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh, that's it, automatically respond by.
Yeah, you can do an array of intervals and different
Yeah.
things. If your handler returns false or if it errors, it's deemed a failure, so it will just requeue it. Great for like if you happen to do a call to an external API that might not be very reliable. Yeah, so you want to keep going until it comes back successfully.
Yeah, also we use it, for example, when API requests come in and we need to process something, and in the background, then we just schedule a forecast and can return success to the calling API.
Yeah.
Very useful. You need to keep in mind that the ad hoc task is then run in an admin context. So we had the issue that people were using something on the front end with a language of with a different language, and then when the ad hoc task ran, it would it produced emails in English then. So we needed to make sure that the language is actually
Pass into it.
the handler, things like that. So yeah.
And yes, so you've got these other ones, the result, the URL, and the return URL to tell you what to do once it's finished working.
Another one of the things we use this for is because each of these, when you create an ad hoc task, it creates a database record which is then queued and picked up when it's scheduled. So we've used that in order to queue up some confirmation emails as part of a transaction, but with the then you've got the option to roll back the whole transaction, and that will be stopped from sending as well. So as part of a complex booking finalization process.
One of the other ways it's quite nice to use it is if you're calling an interceptor. And in the interceptor, you then do the ad hoc task. I wrote one down here, quite a quick one. So yeah, this PresideCon interceptor here. So maybe you're updating some data and you want to do some work with it. But you create an ad hoc task, so you don't have to then slow down the page. And you can basically use that quite a lot as a pattern.
Yeah.
I think, unless there's any questions, that was the lot. Oh, Don, what are you doing to me, man? Yes.
You're storing the tasks in a database.
Yeah.
Can you have multiple servers running as the tax.
Yes.
Will you explain that again?
Yeah, you can, yeah, and yeah, I think it's not like a magic rabbit MQ or anything, but like it will prevent you from running multiple.
You can also set one as a server that handles them, can't you?
Yeah.
Or is that?
You can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the implementation is specific depending on your cluster. Yeah.
Very good. Well, I feel like I need beer after that. Oh, God.
Sorry, I'm talking out of my depth here, but, I mean, the SQL building, that's the bad term, but like, it seems very robust. Are there cases where you would want to just have like raw SQL, or is the goal for like everything to go through this?
Yeah, we do from time to time. Yeah.
Yeah, we used it in what do you call it? Trying to find duplicates in objects.
I also did one the other day as well, which was some using a recursive CTE to work out a trail of hierarchy. And this is a one-off thing that is not worth trying to build a feature for. To say, run this full SQL.
The reason for not is that you have like extensions that will intercept actually running a query and like do stuff with that. So we've got like a sync extension that allows you to sync data from other systems, and if that data is missing from those other systems, it will stop the database. And then any queries that run that happen to be joining or whatever using a field on one of these tables that's synced, add in filters on all the joins and any other table filters to filter out automatically those soft deleted records, so you don't have to do anything. So often you go, oh, I could just run the SQL. It's like, oh, now I'm getting deleted records back. So it kind of, yeah, unless you know you've got something really focused.
Another example is multilingual site tenancy. You can basically say, I want to enable tenancy against this object. And then as far as the developer is concerned, they're just coding writing their queries, but the tenancy is set and intersected on all of the objects that are tenanted. And the same with multilingual as well. So if you've got a German language context, you can then inject.
And inversions.
And version, yeah. So probably, plus multilingual event, like, you can generate a query. You can end up with 6 database tables for your object.
It might confuse me, I'm not sure.
I did actually write one. I can't find it now. I did write an example of this. So bear with me a second.
But it's not ORM, right?
Yeah, it's just a SQL proxy. Yeah.
Oh, it was in the intercept. Yeah, no, okay. Don't worry about that.
It's handled as a separate data source, or it's actually filtering?
Just filtering, yeah. It's flexible and you can do your own logic for the tendency. Did you include a new feature we snuck into the last release that isn't actually really talked about anywhere?
Which one?
Return type on select data.
I did not.
Cool.
Well then.
Do you want to, if you go to preside.org in the release notes?
Oh, yeah. How do I even get there?
Preside.org.
Oh, I see. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's just behind you there.
Yeah.
It's behind you.
Release developers release notes. It'll be pretty recent, 1024.0, and then find didn't even put it in my video. Last 2547.
Yeah.
I think I handled details in the ticket. There we go. So you can now do, and once this forever, I just had a odd minute and needed something easy to program. So you could do return type equals something, and the top two use Lucy's built-in return type on doing CF query, right? You could do an array. An array is straightforward, it just gives an array of structs rather than a query. A struct will give keys that are values from one of the columns in the query. And then the values are, again, the whole struct, including that one. Array of values is basically doing value array on one of the columns and giving you it back. Single value is saying, oh, well, I'm expecting one row and just give me the value back from this column. And then finally, single record struct will be, I'm expecting only one record. So just give me that back as a struct, which is basically the same as array and then just in the first one. Yeah. It'll help us, and yes, I mean, I think especially the struct one, we've all done that, like map the query to a struct to go and make something else later easy, and you can just do it there.